Okay, we continue learning Shemiras Shabbos Kehilchasei. We're in the middle of Halachos of Tochein, and today we're going to go into Tochein Achar Tochein. Tochein Achar Tochein. We are holding on Sif Yod Aleph, page Sadi Vav, in the Shemiras Shabbos. Says this. I'm sorry. Excuse me. No, we didn't do Yod. Says the Shemiras Shabbos in Sif Yod Aleph. Foods that are prepared from ground foods, kigoin lechem, matzah, ubiskvitim. If you have bread, what did bread come from? It came from flour, which of course was originally ground. You have matzah, it came from flour. You have a biscuit, it came from flour. These are all items that in order to get their current state, an original grinding had to be done. Says the Shemiras Shabbos, mutar lachsel afarim b'Shabbos v'klisha einai miyuchal lekach. You're allowed to regrind them with a kli which is not miyuchal lekach. Kigoin b'sakin with a knife kidei lo'ichlam by b'yayim to eat them that day. Even if you don't have das to eat them right away. Now, if you don't have das to eat them right away, what does he mean by saying that you have to eat them that day? No. It says, no, if it's not for miyad, if it's mutter, so why do I care if you're eating it that day or not? Achana, very good. Nothing to do with this halacha. Is stam a different halacha that there's a problem of achana. Very good. Ella, aval. Lo yishtamish zayzeh b'kli miyuchad. You're not allowed to use a kli miyuchad. Kigoin, for example, bim magredes, which is a magredes, like you take cheese and you put in a grater. Vuadin ligabe shokla. By the way, anyone who it's their first times using the Sefer Shemiras Shabbos, sometimes people take months to know this and they get very upset. There's a dictionary in the back. There's a dictionary in the back for anyone who knows, and any word, it's a fabulous dictionary. Any word you do not know, probably is in the dictionary. Now, if you don't know like the word tzarech, I apologize, but then you won't be using the Hebrew edition. But if you are, then that's the back. Vuadin legabe shokolad, says the Shemiras Shabbos. Similarly, chocolate, sukar gvishi, which are going to be clumps of sugar cubes, oigushe melech, clumps of salt, shenizhave akiv lechus, that the moisture was sucked out of them. Ulam, however, now this is an important detail that we're going to see here. So we just said salt was pre-ground, you could regrind it. Ulam melech, shechaitzvin aisai, b'makarois melech, salt that was mined with a steinsalz, melech avonim, salt from stones, that you hew out the salt, v'chein melech shenoitzer miyevish meyam. Similarly, salt that came from the drying up of the sea. So this is part of the mitzias that are going to get very difficult. So now there's no heter. So part A was there's a heter called Ein Tochein Achar Tochein. Part A, what's included in that heter? Bread, matzah, biscuits, chocolate, and maybe salt. Now, if you have salt, which is not of the aforementioned salt, or as you mentioned, a salt, but let's say you do not know if it's part of the aforementioned salt, you're not allowed to grind it unless you use two shinuyim. This takes us back to what we saw yesterday, that even within the Isser Tochein, there's always a heter. The heter is going to be with two shinuyim, kigoin. You crush it with the handle of the knife, or the handle of a fork. And how do you do it? Al gabe salachat, on a plate, or al gabe shulchan, or on the table, but not in the special grinding utensil. If you're crushing up spices, they were never crushed. And whether it's black pepper or I don't know what that is, so don't cook it up. You're allowed to crush it. First of all, an important asterisk. Of course, you have to be careful where you're putting these spices. Where are you putting these spices? 1 second. Whether you can put spices into your food, your kli rishon, your kli sheni, your kli shlishi, etc., is a different discussion. Similarly with salt, so let's just assume we're in a kli shlishi to basically get rid of this issue, which, by the way, if it's like a kugel's a davar gush, and you can run into an issue. Just important to notice, because you might think, gevaldik, I have a way of now utilizing salt on one, now you put on top of your kugel, and you're going to be over in bishul, unless it was pre-cooked, which is a different story. 1 second, I'll take your question. 1 second, let's just finish. Gam gelula, Suya l'refuah. You have a pill that's made for refuah. B'shatz tzorech mutter lefayra. Now here he throws in b'shatz tzorech. You're able to crush it up, as we'll see in Parak Lamed Gimel Sif Daled. And then in the little letters over here, he throws in mutter lifras lachem b'machoinam yuchud lekach. You're allowed to crush up bread with a utensil that is specialized for it. V'uadin legabe basar naknik uche by all these items. And the bottom in Lamed Beis, I know we skipped a bunch of footnotes. We're going to go back over there. In the bottom of Lamed Beis, he explains what's the reason. Because the item you're using is a regular knife. Back into the top. If you're using a machine, biyad, of course. Don't start plugging in utensils. If you have a hand grater, for example, you'd be able to use it for meat and the like. You could use it for bigger pieces, small pieces, because there is no tochein. Because there is no tochein. There's no tochein on meat, because meat is not gedulei karka. Meat is not gedulei karka. So now, that's what it sounded like, right? That's what the word sounded like, right? But now flip over the page, everyone together, and look at Sif Yadalit. I'm a little bit confused about this. Maybe at the end, we'll just say the names and faces. Sif Yadalit, he says, ulam, but not with the klim yuchad. Didn't he just say that you're allowed to? So there's a simple answer. No, it's a simpler answer. Here he's talking about whatever the case of meat is, that it was pre-ground meat. You have two things. You have Eina Gedulei Karka, very good. So I made the same mistake. That's why I'm saying this. Yeah. That's slow. We're getting each other confused. What was I saying? We're getting each other confused. That's the chiddush of there. We're getting each other confused. So let's just go straight. Again, the first halacha, he says, you're allowed to crush up bread. For example, a naknik, which is a hot dog, salami, which is pre-ground up meat, a hamburger, that you're allowed to use even a specialized utensil. If you want to take a hand grater, if it's something that was pre-ground, then he's being mekel. Over here in Sif Yudalid, when he's talking about just stam meat, he says there's an isser to use a kli miyuchad lekach. Gam b'shinim azleg beyo abatzer dagim b'vshalim v'afilim dayit lachlam rak lacher zman. What's it? Before we bring up more cases, let's go slowly so we don't all get confused. Something that's not clear. Yes. Why he's being mekel? Very good. That is gufa is kula. That is gufa is kula. Is that he's saying that if something is out of the parsha, he's saying there's no stigma of chol and something which can't be taken. That is the chiddush. I don't know the klalim. You have to look at the front. What? His question. He's asking a question. He wants to know the reason why you're not allowed to use a kli miyuchad lekach, which we saw previously in the footnotes, which he quoted from the Mishnah Berurah. It's because it's an issue called uvdin dachol, using a weak-like utensil. It has nothing to do with iser teichin. We saw in the very beginning, he laid down the klalim that you're not allowed to use a kli miyuchad lekach even for non-teichin items. Yet here, now I don't know the klal how it works with the little letters over here. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if that's an addition. I don't know if that's a ha'ara. Lamaisa, that's the chiddush. That to use a kli miyuchad lekach for an item without thing, you think that's goof for what the chol is? Good question. Let's continue. So we just learned that something which is ground, yes? Yes? That's what's usher. That's what's usher. We're going to get there. Good. I mean, that's what he said. That was his case. He said pepper. Oh, put in your picture. Good. Fine, you want to do that? We do. Let's just speak out what Tibi Alf just taught us. Something which is pre-ground, you're allowed to continue grinding. What is pre-ground? Bread, biscuits, and chocolate. Those are the three examples we're going to use. You're allowed to continue grinding them on Shabbos. Something which is not pre-ground, we're just going to say salt and pepper. You're not allowed to. Rameir is pointing out the classical example, which you maybe see people being over this issue all the time, is if you have a pepper grinder. A pepper grinder is going to be usher on Shabbos for multiple reasons. Number one, it's a kli miyuchad. Number two is you're doing teichin, two different reasons. Now, the reason why it's important to know there's two different reasons, because if there's only one reason, there would be an avenue of heter if you did it miyad.
What do you mean clean yochel? You're not using any clean ever with clean yochel for anything?
Clean yochel for toichin. We're talking about toichin today. Anything which is good. You're asking it to Shiloh. We're getting sidebar stuck. We're getting sidebar stuck. We are. You're asking. I'll explain your kasha. You're asking a very good kasha, but that goes into the whole segment of the chosh. Saying if it's not teichen, how can be klim yuchel? All klim yuchel is only for teichen. If it's not klim yuchel, that is a shiloh fundamentally how to understand klim yuchel. If klim yuchel is in this because of ovdin the chol, then it's irrelevant. It has a stigma of this because it's a utensil used for that. One could say that no, you can now get it out of this stigma if it's made only for things which is the machlekes going on over here. Could be that is why he's being makel, but that is a deep sugya within ovdin the chol. That was a deep dive. If you understood, great. If you didn't understand, great. Either way, let's move on and let's try to get clarity in what he does say. Let's continue with Sivkatan Chaf Zayin. Why? Why is no Isser Teichen Acher Teichen? Why is it no Sivkatan Chaf Zayin? You have that. Sivkatan. Ha'ara Chaf Zayin. Why is there no Isser Teichen Acher Teichen? What's the reason? So let's read a little bit about this. Kein Isser Teichen Acher Teichen Sham Bira ma. V'ayin simshich chaval brit megadim mishalei zav sivkatin yod. D'lo sheich ezer teichen elo bedavar shahaya guf echad mitol dasai. It was one item, one entity when it was created. V'hu mifayrai, and you crush it up. Aval davar shlaya guf echad mitol dasai v'hu mifayrai. Then enachai mishum talchein. That's the Pri Megadim's explanation. It didn't start off as one item. It's a man-made creation. That's what the Pri Megadim is saying. There's no tachem. Now, I'm going to read a little further. I'm going to admit this is going to get confusing. He's going in the lumdus of what is the Isser Tochein Achar Tochein. The nafkaminas are going to be very slim. So, if we're going to get lost right now, it's okay. We'll come back around. I'll explain to you what a nafkamina might be. At the end of the day, he was a makel on a pill. He said a pill he's a mekel b'shas tzorech, you're allowed to crush it up. That case of a pill, why is that? What's a pill? A pill is you take a million different items and then you fuse it together, right? Now it's rock hard. Very important, every word I'm saying. Now it's rock hard. Now, can you crush it? He said b'shas tzorech it could be mekel. Now that's going to be totally in what the lumdis of Ein Tochein Acher Tochein, and that detail is Shari b'Machlekes L'mashal. I believe the Shemiras Shabbos says it is usher to crush up a pill based on the way that he explains Ein Tochein Acher Tochein. But again, Ein Tochein Acher Tochein is even on Gedulei Karka. Bread is Gedulei Karka. What's your question?
The whole Isser Fuah is because of...
Forget Fuah. We're not talking about Fuah right now. I didn't say you could take the pill. I said you could take the pill. How are you getting the pill into your body? Different story. I understand, but we're zoning and forget it's a pill. It's a crushed up who knows what. So don't get confused in Israel for. Yes, it is Gedulei Karka. It is Gedulei. It's all herbs and whatnot. It's all herbs and whatnot. It doesn't matter. You're asking a good question, but again, let's not get lost. Says the footnote. Ayin sham b'chazainish. The hadin teichen acher teichen hainu b'hafroda shel chibur b'nei adam. He's going more in the lumdus. There's no teichen acher teichen if it's a man-made connection, man-made chibur. Aval hafroda shel chibur tiv'i. If it's a natural connection, shenischaber me'ilav yesh boy mishum iser teichen. Ayin sham b'chazainish. There'll be an iser teichen even if what? It was previously ground. If it naturally fused, which the example we're about to discuss is mud, start off as dirt. Now naturally it got water and it fused into a clod. Is that now going to have an Isser Tochein? On one hand, it was previously Tochein, so in Tochein Acher Tochein. On the other hand, if the lumdis of in Tochein Acher Tochein is because it's a Chibur B'nei Adam, then you might have a problem. So Ayin the Chazinish, the B'taretz B'zeh, with this explanation, the Chazinish explains to Muzkar B'Mishnah Berurah Sivkot Memhei. He's explaining a Mishnah Berurah that says that Shav Mateches Chayiv. If you crush up metal, you're Chayiv. Why you crush up metal? Metal started as a liquid. Metal started as a pieces, and now it became big. Why is there not Ein Tochein Acher Tochein a metal? Hainu afilu in pam kavar haisamru sekis. According to the Chazinish, she just explained it because it was a tiv'i, it was a natural connection. Uledivrei shneim. Whether you go to Pri Megadim, that his reasoning was what? His reasoning was that it was man-made. Whether you go with the, I shouldn't say that. Whether you go with the Pri Megadim, that it was in its original inception, was it that way or not? Whether you go with the Chazon Ish that it was man-made, Derishneim, a Pri Megadim, a Chazon Ish, b'mefora levena, a brick, who potter, ayin sham Pri Megadim. Good. L'das Chazon Ish, we can also understand Gam Navin had before a gush afar. I'm going to stop reading this footnote because we're losing people, even though it's a Meir Dika Shtickle Teira. Had before a gush afar, if you crush up a clod of earth, that we learn you're chayiv, and everyone wants to know why you chayiv. It was pre-ground. Mashma filu mikvar merilsak chay navin b'mishna brura tasal far titchal gabi big day. On Shabbos you have dirt in your clothing. Aside for the Isser to clean your clothing. What's wrong? I said I'm going to stop, and I'm not. Yeah, because I'm enjoying it too much. I'm sorry. Some clever. No one here. It's 1, 2. Okay, good. Givaldik. You understand what I'm talking about. If you have a piece of dirt on your clothing and you scratch it off, aside for the issue of cleaning your clothing, you're Ein Tochein, that you're crushing something up. Why? I was pre-crushed. Well, that's a pre-megadim yesh lahavin. Halo yafer kvar ha'im berusak. V'lam yischayba in misham tochen ayin mishta brua. Goyis from Kiv Eger. Shamak shekin that's with Kiv Eger's kasha. Ulay yesh lamer kavanas supreme god to give sheneg shalai the ma'isa adam shava reza kiguf adam mitoltais. If you didn't do it, it happened on its own. That's called a TV, and therefore it's going to be okay. Fine. Well, we'll stop over here. Let's just go a job further. No, it's an Issa. It's not okay. It's Issa. No, it's okay that he explained, he understood why you're chayiv on the dirt, because according to the Pri Megadim, it's Muvan, says Zalmin, why? And it says Ram Neuber, because it's a natural connection. How did that dirt clod get into your clothing? It's a natural connection. Good. Slow. Let's just finish off la halacha le maisa so we do not get confused. La halacha le maisa. First of all, just to point out in Sivkat Chavtes over here, he quotes the Mishnah Berurah that I just said in the second line. Vatam dikim sheklim yuchel kach harez derech chol. Harez derech chol. So let's just finish off with the halacha le maisa. This should take us about 90 seconds, I hope. When it comes to chocolate, le maisa, we just saw Rosh Zalman is Makel. For those who want to know, there are, based on these timing, now you could start fathoming how chocolate works. And there are Machmirim, there are Chashavis, Shmuel Kamenetsky, Lamaisa is Machmir. You might wonder, what is the chilik? What am I doing with chocolate? So I'll tell you the chilik is you want to make chocolate shavings. You want to take a potato peeler and want to make chocolate shavings on top of a cake on Shabbos. So there's an extra sniff to be makel, because there you're only making strips. You're making strips. Now, whether Tochein has an Isser on strips is another machlekes, which he did not even get involved in. There's a Semach Tzedek that's a Machmir. There's a Ramesha that quotes it, and therefore the Kabbalah is not to do it very small. If I'm using a potato peeler, that would be the definition of very small. Va'oid, if you make mamish not long shavings, you make mamish little where you're making his little chocolate dust, and that would be the Shayla. Rosh Zalman we saw is Makel. There are Machmirim. Another case that this is going to be Nageya is the pill that we just saw. Rosh Zalman, Nachamal is Makel, and most are makel for the pill. Why do you have an extra seer that you're being makel? And finally, what about when you have cheese? Cheese is going to be a good question as well, because cheese, of course, came from liquid and now formed into something larger. Some want to say that according to the Chazon Ish, you're going to have this heter, amongst other reasons in our Chashulchan about it, etc. So the halacha l'maisa is when you see someone taking a biscuit and he's chopping it up, and you just learn Tochein, and you're saying, what are you doing? You just took biscuits and you made flour out of it. You took bread and he's crushing it up. You see someone taking chocolate. All these cases are going to be mutter, seemingly all the way that on such an item you can even use a kli miyuchel lekach. But things to be very careful about are salt, are pepper, and items which are just kedulei karka, but not ground. Then you should not use a kli miyuchad lekach. And yeah, we're done.